Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I put on record my condolences for your loss. The government has implemented a number of measures to reduce net migration. This includes restricting overseas students from bringing family dependents to the UK whilst they study, stopping overseas care workers from bringing family dependents, increasing the salary threshold from skilled worker visas ultimately to 38,700, and increasing the minimum income requirements to family visas. We recognise the levels of migration have been too high, and I took action immediately upon my appointment to bring those figures down.
William Cates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I thank my right honourable friend for his answer. But one of the main drivers of immigration over the last 20 years or so has been labour shortages caused by falling birth rates. And according to projections by Philip Pilkington and Paul Morland, if birth rates don't increase, then immigration will have to rise to over a third of the population over the next 50 years if we're going to maintain a sufficient working age population. So immigration on this scale has no democratic consent, and obviously the Minister has promised repeatedly to reduce net migration. So can I ask what discussions my right honourable friend has had with colleagues in the Treasury about this issue, and does he agree that the government must have a strategy to address falling birth rates to ensure that we don't always have to rely on ever-increasing rates of immigration?
Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend makes an important point about birth rates, and there are a myriad of social and economic factors that drive that. Beyond my control, I have to concede. But I have spoken with my right honourable friend, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, about related issues, and recognising that GDP per capita is an important metric as well as overall GDP. We're ensuring that we invest in a British workforce. My right honourable friend, the education sector, are passionate about apprenticeships and lifelong learning. We want to be a high-skilled, high-income economy rather than a low-skilled mass migration economy. That remains the government's priority, and we are taking action in our immigration policy to reflect that desire.
Andy Slaughter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tehas Teklahaimanut Tesfaye is one of the elite female cyclists chosen to lead Ride London next month. She's also an asylum seeker living in a hotel in my constituency where the food is so bad it makes her sick and unable to compete. Last month, an investigation by Sustain found food for asylum seekers that was undercooked, past its sell-by date and infested with insects, have left them in some cases malnourished and hospitalised. Could the Secretary of State investigate this scandal and the responsibility of its contractor Clear Springs so asylum seekers like Tehas are not subject to such dangerous and degrading conditions?
Home Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure you, the honourable gentleman in the House, that our contractors are expected to maintain standards. Where they fall below those standards, they will be held to account, and I will absolutely take a note of the case that he has raised.
Gilly Tolhurst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the measures my right honourable friend has taken to tackle the levels of legal migration. But could my right honourable friend inform me if what assessment he has made of the expected impact of the new immigration salary list and what that will have on the net migration figure?
Secretary.
My honourable friend is at the front line of our fight against illegal migration, but legal migration is important. We have recognised that the figures have been too high in the most recent couple of years for a number of reasons, and we have taken, as I've listed, we have taken a number of measures. The combined impact of that is that, by our estimations, 300,000 people who would have previously have been eligible under the new regime that I have put in place will no longer be eligible, and that's the order of magnitude of change that we will eventually see once these proposals are fully implemented.
Tim Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The refusal to allow care workers from overseas to bring a spouse with them comes at the same time as in Cumbria we're finding it impossible to fill at least a fifth of all the social care jobs. Would you explain to constituents of mine who are incapable or unable to find those people to care for them and their loved ones why it seems sensible to make people from overseas lives so miserable in coming over here to care for our loved ones they don't come at all?
Home Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I recognise in rural communities that recruitment and retention of staff is difficult, and in his constituency, which is a wonderful, beautiful but very rural constituency, there are particular pressures. I can assure him the global supply of potential care workers is very, very significant, and actually the issues with regard to where in the country those people work are more about the internal dynamic within the UK economy than the quantum of people around the world who would seek to work in the UK. There are plenty of people who would wish to work here, recognising that they are not allowed to bring their dependents with them. But the issue of where in the country those people work is actually a broader issue.
SNP spokesperson Alison Thewlis.
The cruel Conservative hikes to the visa minimum income threshold have caused deep distress, deep distress to many. Does he understand the pain that these changes have caused? And what message does he believe it sends out to those that would do us the honour of making their home in these islands, that he puts such a high price on love and family life?
Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely right that any nation in the world puts conditionality on the people it accepts within its own borders. This country has a long-standing. In fact, I'm a product of this, as are my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, the Trade Secretary, and many others within the government, of a long-standing tradition in this country of being open and welcoming. However, when we see the orders of magnitude of legal migration that we've seen over the last couple of years, it is incumbent upon us to take action. We have made it clear what action we'll take. We have given notice of the changes so that people can make their plans accordingly. And when there are special cases, there is a special cases exemption so that we can both control immigration and do our moral duty to protect those people who seek our protection and be an attractive place for people to come and work.
Kim Johnson.
Question number 2, Mr. Speaker.